love and hate. I'm Kelsey, the unhinged, diehard romantic and fantasy reader.
And I'm Amanda, the insightful thrill seeker and historical fiction nerd. Welcome, welcome to our first Lit It or Quit It episode for the month of March.
Oh my
We
God,
are
I was going to
very
say
glad.
February. Yeah,
We
March.
are just now in February, February 1st. So we are in February. You guys are in March. But we're so glad that you guys are here and joining us this beautiful Monday. Hopefully, it's a beautiful Monday when you're all listening to this. And as always, we want to start off by directing you to our socials. We are on Instagram at lit_vibes_only_podcast and on both TikTok and YouTube at Lit Vibes Only Podcast. So if you're out there and you're listening and you have not yet found us and followed us on our socials, please be sure to do that. Yes, we love our podcast, but we do so much more fun stuff on our socials, lots more ways to engage. So if you're not liking, following, commenting, subscribing, make sure to do so. And at the beginning of this year, we launched our Fable accounts and our Fable book clubs. So if you are not on
Mm-hmm.
the Fable app, highly encourage you to find us over there. I'm at Lit Vibes Only Amanda. Kelsey is at Lit Vibes Only Kelsey. And even if you're on Goodreads and don't want to fully make the switch, we encourage you to create an account just so you can join our book clubs and read along with us for these Lit It or Quit It episodes. Let us know your thoughts beforehand. Make your predictions about whether or not it's going to be a Lit It or Quit It. It's a great time, and we love connecting with you guys on that app. And you also get to have some input into what our next books are going to be. So if you want to have a say in what books are going to get covered on the podcast, then that is one of the places to do it. And last but not least, most importantly, please make sure to take a moment to rate and review us if you still have not done so, whether this is your first time listening to us or your 50th. If you have not taken the time to do that, we would deeply appreciate it. So on both Apple
Deeply.
and yes, very deeply on Apple and on Spotify, you can rate us, give us a lovely 5-star rating. And then on Apple, you can write a review for the entire podcast. 1 or 2 sentences will suffice. And then if you're on Spotify, you can just write a comment on whichever episode just really spoke to you and leave us some feedback there. Again, just a sentence or two is great. You don't need to write us a novel, although we appreciate novels, obviously. But basically, we just need those ratings and reviews to just bump our way up the list and stand out from some of the other book podcasts out there and get some more eyes and ears on us. So thank you in advance. And yeah, we're just so glad that you guys are here today. So we're going to start off as always by talking about our current reads, what we've been getting into recently. And I'll start. I posted about this on our socials. One more reason why you should be following us on our socials. But I listened to, of my own volition, of my own free will, a romance novel, First Time Caller
Oh,
by BK Borison. I actually just finished it yesterday and
nice.
absolutely loved it. Gave it 4 stars. I
Wow.
found the characters super relatable. It was fun. It was lighthearted. It was well written.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything going on in the world, I just very much needed an escape. And that book was just like a delightful, heartwarming escape. And I realized, thanks to one of our TikTok followers, so again, this is why you should be following us. They let me know that there's a sequel coming out this month,
Mm.
and it's called And Now Back to You. And it tells the story of the MMC's best friend and his relationship and his romantic relationship. So I'm really
Mm.
excited to keep reading the Heartstring series. And I can't believe I just said that, but here I am looking forward to a romance series. So
You
that's what I've been getting
did
into.
that. So Swoon City mentioned this in one of their stories or something and said that this book is a retelling of Sleepless in Seattle.
Yes, I did see that when I was like Googling.
I was like, oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
how did I not realize this?
yeah, it's very sweet.
I did read that. Did you know? I've read both.
I Did you just read it? Because I was
No.
reading it and you were like, oh, let me read. And I was like, oh, I thought you had already read it. And you were like, no, I haven't read it yet.
First time caller? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I was like texting you about it. And you were like, oh, yeah, I just got that one. And I was like, oh, I thought you had already read it. It was very weird because I was like, I remember you mentioning it like in a previous video. Maybe you were
No,
just
I
like a little
completely,
confused.
I absolutely have read it. And that was like earlier last year.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I remember you making a TikTok that's like, okay, I guess maybe I was confused.
So, one thing that I have not said yet on this podcast is I am right now 16 weeks pregnant.
Woo!
And I am really starting to feel the brain fog. So if I look back at that text messages, I'm really curious, like what I
I
said
know,
or
I'm like, I
what
need to
if I
look
was
it up
like
right now.
looking or like thinking about something else because I have no idea why I would say that.
I was very
Because that is
confused.
untrue. Yeah, yesterday I was running errands and I was like, oh yeah, thinking about this return I had to do. And I was like, oh yeah, I did that like last week. And I was like, did I? And I was like, yeah, I did. And then I had to get dog food for my doggy. And this lady helped me put it in the back of my trunk. And then there was my return. And I was like, how
Oh,
did I like how did I was like I feel confused so much of the time. It's been really tough. But hopefully I am getting out by the time this comes out, I'm feeling the glow of the second trimester. That's what I'm really hoping for.
we'll keep all the things crossed.
Uh, so I will admit that I have read a lot less recently because of just everything. I've noticed too, Amanda, when I'm reading or listening to audiobooks, I'm
Mhm.
just not understanding. I'm understanding less of it when I'm
Mm,
listening to audiobooks. And I'm like, dang, everything about my day is impacted and it's intense and
that
new
makes sense.
things. I'm learning new things every day. And so yeah, I haven't been getting into many books, but I was reading Black Sun. I started Black Sun. I was reading it, what is that called, immersive reading, but then my audio expired. And so
Oh,
I have to wait like another however many weeks for it again. And I haven't been reading like consistently.
yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a big life change and a lot going on. I guess it is unfortunate about the audiobooks though, because I would think
I
that would be the
know.
easier option to just listen to something versus trying to
I
like
know.
focus on text. So if that's not working
Mm.
for you either, that's
Nothing's
rough.
really gonna work for me.
Yeah, that's
But I did just finish. What was this? It's the second book in the Children of Blood and Bone.
oh, Virtue and Vengeance, I think is the second one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I just finished that, but a lot of it,
right
I
over.
was like, wait, I don't think I know what just happened.
I actually had gotten it from the library and then yeah, it expired before I got to it. So, yeah, my hold expired or my loan expired. So I
Yeah.
need to get it again because I do plan to read all of them. I just like have a lot of other books that I want to get to
Yep.
first.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
all right, then let's get into the book we are talking about today. Kelsey, why did you have me read Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent?
It's funny you ask. Just kidding. This was the first time that our book club or my book club chose the book.
Mm,
And I definitely wanted something I had already read because of my brain currently. And so
mhm.
I gave them the option of One Dark Window and this book. And they chose Daughter of No Worlds. And so I was like, all right, it is time for Amanda to read this book. And
Okay.
so that's why.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you to everyone. I guess thank you. I don't know if I should say thank you, but thank you for your participation and being a part of this podcast in
Mm-hmm.
such a meaningful way. And yeah, if you're out
So
there being like, dang, I wish I could do something like that, you can. You just need to join our Fable Book Club.
So, Amanda, tell us, was this a lit it or quit it for you? Short answer.
Yeah, short answer. This is something I like ping ponged back and forth about because I do feel like I'm solidly in the middle and I want to do my whole like I'm giving it a quillet. But I think I am gonna give it a soft lit it.
Okay.
I ended up giving it 3 stars. I think if I was doing it on Fable, because you can do like the quarter stars, I would
Oh,
probably give it
yeah.
like, I don't know, like a 2.75. But it was fine. I'll stop there.
I was so curious. It's like, this could go either way, to be
It wasn't
honest.
the worst thing you've had me read. It wasn't the
No.
best thing you've had me read. I didn't actively hate it. I wasn't really actively enjoying myself. So yeah, I feel very, as the kids would say, and I've said it before, I feel very mid.
Yes.
Book is very mid. I feel very, I don't know if you can feel mid, but this book is very mid. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So
Do you
that
have our
means I
lovely
have
summary
the
for us?
I have the summary. Again, this is a
Fantasy.
romantasy novel. It's a fantasy novel, so there's a lot happening, but I'm gonna
Yes,
keep
there
it short,
is.
keep it tight, and hopefully
Try.
you joined the book club and read along with us, so you already have a really good sense of these characters in this plot. I will say that this is the first time that I have listened to a romantasy novel.
Oh,
So this was also a new experience for me because trying to keep all of this straight up here versus having text was different for me. And we'll talk more
mhm.
about that whole experience when we get to the discussion. But this story takes place in this fantasy empire called Threll, and it focuses on a young woman named Tizana who is
Mhm.
fragmented. And in this world, there is magic. There are two kind of groups of magic wielders, the Voltaine and the Solari. And they look different. So Voltaines are basically albinos and like just everything's white, skin white, hair white, eyes white, everything's white. And then the Solari have melanin. I don't know how else to say that. And they wield their magic a bit differently. Voltaine's more like internal magic, and Solari are more externally oriented with their magic,
Mhm.
but they come from this group called the Orders. So there's like the Order of Daybreak and the Order of Night, I think. And so the Voltaine are the Order of Night, Solari are the Order of Daybreak. You get the whole imagery there. Tizana is a fragmented Voltaine, which means she is partially Voltaine. And what that looks like physically is what we would in our world called vitiligo. So her skin is both white and tan. I think one of her eyes is green and one's white. And so she has vitiligo. She and her people are captured and enslaved by a group of slavers when she is very young. She is the only one from her group of people, her tribe essentially, that is not sent off to the mines because of the way that she looks. And so she is sent to live with this very wealthy kind of nobleman called Ismaris, who for the most part treats her quote unquote well. Like she is one of his favored enslaved women, and although she's still enslaved, sometimes he is kinder to her than perhaps other masters would be. She spends years working essentially as like a dancer, and she's just out there keeping Ismaris and his buddies happy. And he tells her that she can buy her freedom once she has 1,000 gold coins. So over the course of, I think, 8 years, she ends up being able to save up that amount of money, and she's really excited. So she goes to him one day and she's like, I did it. I saved up 1,000 gold coins. I'd like to buy my freedom. And he's like, yeah, JK, I'm not actually going to let you buy your freedom. Don't be dumb.
Mhm.
And he gets really angry and starts to whip her. She's like on the brink of death, and she ends up using her magic abilities to kill him. And obviously, she's like, oh shit, I just killed my master, who's like this really prominent person in Thrall. I am in danger of losing my life. So she, with the help of her best friend, Cyril, who is a gay enslaved man that she lives with, works with, grew up with, they're really good friends, he helps her to escape. And her plan is to go to another land called Ara. And Ara is where the orders are. So that's the like the home base for these magic wielders. And the reason why she knows about Ara is because Esmaris, again, her master, was friends with this high ranking leader of the orders called Zareth. And Zareth would talk to her about Ara, and she just always dreamed of going there, especially because she's part Voltaine. So she ends up making it barely to Ara. Like she survives for several weeks and gets herself there. And through a series of events, she is paired with a mentor. So she wants to learn how to use her magic because her goal is to go back and like, save her people. That's always been her goal, to overthrow like these evil slavers in Thrall and release the enslaved people there. And she feels like the orders, because of their ability to build magic, are the people who are able to do that. So they're like, great. We're glad you're here and you want to learn how to use your magic, but we have a very specific process about how that happens. You have to get a mentor. You have to train for several years. Most kids start training when they're 12 with a mentor. She's 21. So they're like, we're going to try and expedite the process for you. So they find an unwilling mentor for her. His name is Max Antarius. He goes by Max. And he is like this grumpy, retired war veteran who's not that much older than she is. But he wants nothing to do with the orders. He wants nothing to do with wielding magic and fighting and all of that stuff. But he ultimately agrees to train Tizana. And over the course of her training, surprise, surprise, they like fall in love and have these feelings for each other. And she ultimately, over the course of several months, gets trained to do this test, right? To see if she can, I don't know, work with the orders. So on her testing day, it quickly becomes obvious that the people in power, so Zareth, Nora, who's his right-hand woman, and also Max's ex-girlfriend, they put her through a different type of test. And it quickly becomes obvious, like something else is at play here. Like they're trying to use Tizana for something else. And what we ultimately find out is that they want Tizana to be the host for this magical being, this magical entity called Rishi. And basically it's like undiluted magic, essentially, and it needs a physical host in order to express its powers. And we find out that Max was the previous host, and Rishi is like not, I guess it's technically not good or evil, it's just magic, and it can be used for good or for evil, but it seems evil to me. It seems to have evil intentions. Anyhow, the reason why Max is the way he is, so like cantankerous and grumpy, is because when he was the host and had Rishi living inside of him, he was used to like massacre an entire village, and that completely wrecked him. And then Rishi also, using Max's body, slaughtered Max's family because it wanted Max all for itself. And so, yeah, Rishi is awful. So anyhow, Tizana doesn't know all of this stuff. She's just like, I want this power so that I can go and save my people. And they're like, great, we're going to give you this power. You can use it to go save your people, but then you're going to have to come back and fight for us because Ara is like facing its own war or impending war. And you're going to use your power to help us win this war, and then we'll set you free. So they like form this binding blood contract. Tizana agrees to it. And Max is devastated when he finds out that she's agreed to this because he's like, I've lived this life before and it's really shitty. And because of his prior contract, he couldn't say to Tizana that he had already done what she's doing. And it was like a whole thing. He was like sworn to secrecy. Anyhow, what's done is done. Max is like, I'm not going to let you go off and like kind of face this alone. So Max and Tizana and Nora and some other folks, they all get on a boat and sail back to Thrall because, again, as they promised, she can use her new power to help release her people, her fellow enslaved folks. So they go back to Thrall. They have a couple of like skirmishes and they're like releasing people from slavery. And ultimately they end up at her old master's house, Asmaris, who his estate is now being overseen by his son, who is just like not a good dude. And so they infiltrate his estate. And the plan is, again, to get in there, free the slaves, get out. Unfortunately, Asmaris' son knows what's up and realizes what they're trying to do. So they get ambushed and people are getting killed left and right as Tizana and Max are like fighting. We find out randomly that Max, when Rishi left Max, she like left him with this weird source of magic where he can turn into this massive fiery serpent. So he like suddenly transforms and is killing people and whatever. And while all of this is happening, Tizana goes inside her mind and has this internal battle with Rishi and kind of subdues it and is able to like use Rishi's powers the way that she wants to versus Rishi controlling her. Or yeah. So ultimately they win, they free the slaves, and the book ends with them sailing back to Ara in order to fulfill the other part of Tizana's contract, which is now to fight for Ara. We also find out at the same time as the book is ending that Zareth has killed Queen Cessary or whatever her name is. Cessary, yeah. And is up to no good. So it very much sets it up for the sequel, which I think
Yeah.
is Children of Fallen Gods. And that's where the book ends. Yeah.
Yay! It's really hard for me because I've read all three books, and you don't know much about like Roche's background, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. But you do know that it's bloodthirsty, right?
Yes, and there's some hint that Riche like was traumatized in the past.
Yeah.
Like it has
Okay,
its
good.
own trauma and we don't know what it was and what caused it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Hmm.
I feel like for me, Roche is like the best part of this whole series.
Oh,
And
interesting. Okay.
yeah, yes. Because you get to learn more about them in the later books, their
Yeah.
story.
I
Hmm.
figured it's definitely set up that way for
Yeah.
sure.
So, Amanda, what were some of your favorite parts of the book?
I think there was like a fair amount that I did enjoy or that I didn't find miserable, I should say. Like I said, I appreciated the representation for vitiligo because and I hope I'm saying that right, but I've actually never ever read a book that had a character, especially not the protagonist, have that condition.
Hmm.
And obviously representation is important. And I liked the fact that, yeah, we got to see a character who also is like it's not seen as a negative thing per se, right?
Hmm.
So I liked that. That was cool. I liked the larger number of women in this book who were in positions of authority and who were pretty badass. Because even Tizana's mom, who's really not in the book that much, in there at the beginning, but she was like the leader of her people. And so having this
Hmm.
tribe where females are in charge was like very cool. Nora is like Zara's right hand woman, like I said. And even though
Hmm.
she's a very conflicted character. She does some good things, she does some shitty things. She still is somebody who, again, wields a certain amount of power and respect and authority. I think Tizana is like pretty badass because this is a book like full on trigger warning. It's pretty brutal. There's a lot of violence in this book. There's
Hmm.
torture in this book. And yeah, I wrote T is legitimately badass. Respect. That's what I wrote in my notes. And so I like that. What else? What
Yeah.
else? I liked the fact that this book did deal with slavery and the way that, people in power, such as the orders, can often exhibit a lot of complacency, right? Like the people who have the ability to change things as they did chose not to. They didn't want to disrupt the system. They didn't want to make things difficult for themselves. And obviously, we see that playing out in a variety of ways in our own society. I did write that I liked the extra complication of adding this magical entity, Rishi, whatever, however you say it,
I
to
can't
this.
remember. It's like
I listened to
Riche,
the audiobook and I'm
Riche.
like, I think it was Rishi. So I liked adding that extra complication, both because it made the story a bit more unique compared to other fantasy
Hmm.
novels, and because there's clearly something there, like Kelsey was saying, with its own
Hmm.
backstory and background that Carissa then gave herself the opportunity to explore in future books.
Yeah.
What else? What else? What else? Oh, I did like two other things. Like, I liked the fact that finally, I think this might be the first. Yeah, I think this is the first romantasy novel that ends with the FMC and the MMC like still together, still in love, like still alive. Like Divine Rivals that didn't happen, the first Akatar book that didn't happen. I'm trying to think. There are other ones that you've had me read. Oh, Heartless. Was it Heartless?
Heartless
Heartless?
Hunter.
Powerless? Whatever. Yeah. Heartless
Oh, Carl,
Hunter, Powerless.
powerless.
Like literally all of them. They all end
And this
with
like
the FMC and
conflict.
the MMC like on opposite sides of a conflict, or one of
Hmm.
them's missing or like whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was like, oh, okay. It's nice that they're like still in love, still together, still alive. That was great. Something a little bit
Yeah,
different.
it's actually to comment on that. I would say like was it Maximilius or
No, Max Antarius, Harley Own.
Maxentarius,
Yeah.
and Tizana, I would say they're very stable throughout.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's not something that kind of goes back and forth. Like the other parts of the story are like
Yeah.
way more intense and bring the conflict and all of that and intrigue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I liked it. It was like something different. And I appreciated that there was only one smut scene. And I was very pleased with that. Very
yeah, I don't remember
pleased.
it.
And it felt earned. So I was like, it's fine. I liked
Not just
Moth.
because they can't stop looking at each other and keep their hands out.
Exactly. This is very much a slow burn book. So for all my slow burn readers out there, you're gonna like it for that aspect. Um,
Definitely a story where they're falling in love, not because of how they look or
yeah.
because of this lust for one
Yeah.
another. It's
Yeah.
definitely a deeper connection.
Which I have like thoughts about their connection too. Because I actually wrote it in my notes. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, it's certainly not just this lust filled like attraction, but it also at the same time very much felt like trauma bonding. And I'm like,
Mm,
I don't know if you
maybe.
guys would have ended up together if you hadn't necessarily met under the circumstances that you did and had the backgrounds that you did. Because they both dealt with
Mm-hmm.
immense amounts of trauma.
True.
And I think it was very clear that that shaped a lot of their relationship and their connection with each other. And that's not to say that like people can't connect over shared trauma, like that's a bad thing per se. It was just like, oh, this is like textbook trauma bonding. And so yeah, I was like, noted. That's a choice. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I liked Moth. Moth is like this cute little kid who
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think. Max has a friend whose name I'm blanking on, a really good friend who's a healer, and he shows up throughout the book. And he has a mentee who's actually the appropriate age, so like 12 years old. And he's just like the cutest little kid. And he shows up every now and then and is very cute and adds some humor. And yeah, I liked that Max was ticklish because it made him less of the stereotypical brooding, gloomy MMC. I was like,
Dude.
yeah, okay, he's ticklish. I like it. So
what
yeah, those are
is
some of the things.
what are his characteristics? I don't remember. Do you
What do
remember?
you mean?
Max's physical characteristics.
Oh, I mean, he's tall and muscular and has dark hair and I don't know.
Are you sure?
Yes. Wait, he's not blonde. Is that what you're asking?
For some reason, I'm imagining him as a
Maybe.
redhead.
I don't know. Maybe he is. I don't think, or maybe I'm confusing him with the MMC from First Time Caller since I just read that. And he definitely had dark hair. I guess he could have blonde hair. But he's definitely brooding. Like he doesn't want to be bothered. He's escaping from the world. He is very jaded,
Yeah.
has a lot of walls up.
Okay,
So
yeah. He is tall. He's white. He's black hair, bright
yeah,
blue
that's it.
eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the
But they later
stereotypical.
oh, interesting.
I think his best friend, again, whose name I'm like not remembering, he I think is meant to be black the way he's described. So we do have a character of color in there. But yeah, no, he's like the typical romanticy MMC. Like nothing to see here.
There was something more there.
No, there's not. There really isn't. Yeah.
Alrighty. And they're both like in their late 20s, which is just like,
No, she's in her early 20s. She's 21 and he's like 28.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So there's a little bit of an age gap there.
I thought he was
Um,
older. Okay.
yeah. No, he's pretty
But
young.
thinking about like how much they've experienced already to that
I mean,
point, like that
yeah.
is insane.
And they both grew up, especially Tizana had to grow up super quickly. Like she was
Uh-huh.
taken when she was like what, 8, I think, or something crazy. Maybe a little bit older. Maybe I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
maybe she was 12. I don't know, but she was really young when she was taken. Yeah, and then like her life was brutal.
Yeah.
So she grew up super quickly and Max had a good childhood and things didn't really
Mm-hmm.
go south until he like joined the army and are like their armed forces and all of that. But yeah, like I said, like those were some of the things I liked. I there was there was a ball. There was another effing ball because we couldn't possibly have
I
a
don't
romanticy
remember that.
novel without them having to like get dressed up at some point. But at least neither of them could dance, so I appreciated that. They both suck at dancing, and so that made it more realistic. And it might have been because I listened to it instead of read it, because I do think I would have had a different
Uh-huh.
experience. The female narrator for this was so fucking annoying. She had this really high pitched, almost
I was
childlike
gonna ask you
voice,
about this.
which made her sound so pathetic and wimpy and whiny. Whereas what she's actually doing, like I said, is like really difficult and heroic
Yeah.
and badass. And I think if I
Yeah.
had read it, I would have obviously imagined her differently and heard her in my
Yeah.
head differently. And I think I would have actually liked the book more. And it probably would have been more of like just like a normal lit it versus a soft lit it. But she was just like, oh, blah, 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 Max Centaurus. I just talk like this. And I'm like, oh, it was just drove me crazy. And it made me, even though I was for the most part enjoying the plot, every time I had to turn the audiobook back on, it literally was like, Amanda, you have to do it. You've got to get through this book like that. And it was a trial. It was a trial.
Oh,
It was
poor
obviously it was good to hear
Amanda.
the pronunciations for things. 'Cause obviously, I don't normally get that when I'm reading a
Yes,
fantasy novel. But yeah, these audiobook narrators hold so much power to make or break a story. And
they really do.
as an author, I don't know how much say they have in who gets to narrate their
I
books, but
don't
I would be
know.
so picky. I would make them
Or
all
pissed.
audition
If you
and yeah, exactly. Especially for people who like exclusively listen to audiobooks. Like this is going to be their only experience of this book that I've written. And then I have a really bad audiobook narrator just like messing things up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much say they have. So listeners, if you do know what the situation is,
Yeah,
like
I
I would be
know.
curious to know. Yeah.
But also, it probably also depends on the author, right? Carissa Broadbent, she is a pretty well known author. And I imagine that she would have some say. But then, yeah, I don't know.
I
It's
don't know
hard to
either.
say.
Like, I know like for TJ Klune,
Esther
like he
Wayne
is the one who did
is
it.
the, yeah.
Okay. Because I know for TJ Klune's novels, like his, at least for like The House and the Cerulean Sea, like that duology, he like handpicked that voice actor. Oh, he's an
Mm-hmm.
actor, but also is a voice actor. And so
Yeah.
had a huge say in like that collaboration. So it probably does have to do with like how, yeah, known you are and
Mm-hmm.
how much therefore say you get to have in the process. But yeah, I didn't really enjoy it for that. I don't know that I would listen to a romantasy novel again on audio.
Just
I think
because of the
not just because of
narrator,
the voice. I
or
think just for me, like I did have to work a little harder to keep things
mm,
straight.
yeah.
It wasn't the most complicated of books because it wasn't super, super long and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't as involved in terms of like the magic system and everything as some other books. But yeah, I just think I do better when I can read a romantasy or fantasy novel. And if there are maps, I can look at the maps. If I can
Yeah.
see a list of character names, if I can go back a couple of pages and be like, wait, who is this person? How are they connected to this person? I don't think it just works with my brain well.
Mm.
So I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
would do that again.
If you could choose.
Yeah. This book, I didn't mention this earlier, but it has a dual POV. So it does switch
Yeah.
between Tizana and Max. And really, Max only comes in the final third of the book for a couple of chapters.
Mm.
And it was one of those things where I don't know if it was necessary. Like,
Mm.
I feel like if you're going to do dual POV, do it and have it switch back and forth pretty consistently. For him to just pop in at the very end or closer to the end of the book, I was like, I don't know if we really needed Max's perspective in order for this
Mm.
to work, which isn't a huge criticism. It was just like, I don't know, structurally and like in terms of the plot, I don't know if you needed to like add that to the reader's plate. I don't know that it really added anything.
Thinking about that, I do think the next books do have the dual POV as well.
Okay.
And perhaps it was like an intro to that, or like a foreshadowing or some of some kind.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting because especially if you're the male voice actor who is hired to do this, and it's like, you're just
Uh-huh.
gonna be here to read 4 chapters and Tizana's got the other like 65. It's like,
Yep.
what am I doing? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this is just one of those books that it was like, it was fine. I don't know. I think they're, and again, knowing that this is I think is it a trilogy or is it a series?
Trilogy.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
knowing that it's a trilogy, like I think I can forgive Carissa for some. There are some things that just weren't developed, right? Like I don't
Oh,
fully
uh-huh.
understand where this magic came from and how this magic system
Yeah.
works exactly. Like I don't really understand why Threll how the politics in Thrall work and why some
Mhm.
people have been enslaved and like who exactly is in charge in Thrall. Like you never really know because there's no mention of any sort of royalty, either like a king or a queen or a leader of this land. It just
Didn't you say there was a queen and he
there's a
killed the
queen in
queen?
Ara, like Queen
Yeah.
Cessary is in Ara,
Oh,
but
but
in like,
Pharrell. Okay.
yeah, is it just like a
Mm-hmm.
land run by a bunch of like noble
Lawless land.
families? So yeah, it's just so I had a lot of questions, but like knowing that this is the first book, I know it's a lot of exposition and just like laying their
Mm-hmm.
groundwork. If this was a standalone, I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, like Carissa, you need to go back and clean some of this stuff up and give us some more information. But I'm okay with letting that slide. Yeah, I guess the other thing that I actually did like is that Tizana is an interesting character because she is essentially like biracial, right? Or I don't know whatever term they would
Mm-hmm.
use. They use fragmented, right, in this world. So she
Yeah.
has like a mixed heritage, mixed lineage, which
Mm-hmm.
I think the book definitely takes time to dive into like her lived experience and what it's like to not feel fully in either world. Like she's not fully Voltaigne, she's not fully human, she's not Solari. And I think it also she could be seen as a third, what is it called? Like a third culture kid or a third culture person where she's originally from one place, but technically she grew up in another place because she was enslaved
Mm-hmm.
there and then she ended up in Ara and she was connected to that place because of her Voltaigne
Mm-hmm.
heritage, even though she's definitely somebody who lives in the in-between spaces. And I think as someone personally who has mixed heritage, like I enjoy characters who inhabit those in-between
Mm-hmm.
spaces and wrestle with some of those issues about what is home and where do I belong and where can I see myself reflected back to me. So I liked that. I know she didn't spend a ton of time diving into it, but
Yeah.
there was a nod to that in the book, and I liked that.
Have you looked at the cover at all?
Yes, many times.
I
I don't like it. I think it's very low
I was
budget
gonna ask you.
and cheesy.
Why do you
I
think?
just, I don't know if I can put my finger on it, but it just looks like a very like overly wrought. I don't know. It just feels overdone, and there's a lot of red. There's a whole lot of red.
Yeah,
And
but
like the
for the
dramatic
violence, Amanda.
pose. What was that?
But for the violence.
I don't know, like her pose with the sword, it just feels it reminds me of like a kind of low budget like fantasy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Have you seen the other covers?
know. Are they better?
They're no, they're all very
Oh.
similar.
Oh,
And like
okay.
her skin condition, like I actually never noticed it. It's very subtle
It's very
in the
subtle.
yeah.
I literally went back to the cover once I realized how they were describing her. I was like, wait, I did
Yeah.
not pick up on the fact that she's vitiligo from this cover. Like,
No, yeah,
like
exactly. It's like very subtle here, and if you don't pick it up in the book, then you don't.
yeah, which
Yeah.
I'm sure was a marketing thing for sure, which
Yeah.
also is annoying. She went out of her way to make her character an individual that has this. Let's make that clear. Like, it would
Mm-hmm.
be good for other people to see that reflected back to them.
And then have like the butterflies in the background of this cover, if you've noticed.
It's just
It's just
I
fun.
okay, here's what it reminds me of. It just clicked, especially because I just looked at the cover for Children of Fallen Gods. It reminds me of a comic book. Like especially the second cover. And I think that's what threw me. And again, I love comic books. I grew up reading comic books, like no hate
It's
against
not a
comic
comic
books,
book.
but like I don't yeah, comic books and a fantasy novel to me like inhabit two different genres. And I don't know, I think I expect something different and maybe I shouldn't. And so yeah, I just had that vibe to it. And I don't think the cover matches the book. I don't. And there were other
Yeah.
people when I was reading reviews who felt the same. They were like, I'm glad I didn't let the
Mm-hmm.
cover throw me because the book was better than the cover implied. So for this
Yeah.
book, yeah, don't judge it by its cover because
But also you have to look at the last cover,
what
Mother
is the
of
name of the
Death,
third? What is
Mother
it?
of Death and Dawn. I just think you're
Also,
gonna laugh.
what is it with? Okay, I'm looking it up right now. But what is it with fantasy authors having like the something of this and this? Like obviously the ACOTAR series did that all the time. Like a court of thorns and
Oh, I
roses, a
see.
court of
Yeah,
wings and ruin,
yeah.
a court of it's like mother of death and it's oh, okay, let me look at this cover. One moment. Okay, yeah, this I just it reminds me of a video game cover. Like the cover
Okay.
like the
Uh-huh.
art for a video game. Like
Yeah.
that whole again like vibe or genre, which again, nothing wrong with that. Video games are super cool, but I just feel like it gives readers the wrong impression. It also makes the
Mm-hmm.
books feel more juvenile. Looking at the cover for
Mm,
Mother of Death and Dawn, I'm like, oh, this looks like maybe like a middle school fantasy novel or maybe YA. It doesn't seem like it has any gravitas or like weight to it, especially considering the level of violence and death and torture in these books
for
and
real.
genocide. You would never look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's what I'm in for. It just looks way too flimsy. I don't know. Anyhow, that's all I have to say about that.
So
Yeah.
funny.
What did you like about these books?
I did like Tizana's character and like the backgrounds of both Max Antarius and her. And I felt the same way as you. I was like, okay, she's gonna fall in love with this older guy.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me in the end because I felt like it really was, especially that first book, Max Antarius, especially, like following him through a healing journey of his own. And I didn't mind that. I like that. And
Yeah.
I really love the aspect of Rishi and Rishi or what
Rishi. I think it's Rishi. Yeah.
Rishi.
It's weird.
I really love that aspect. And in the end, like that was my favorite part of the book and the story. Because you also get years and years before. It's
Yeah.
like hundreds of years before
Well,
history
yeah.
in
That's
later
the thing
books.
because they do very briefly touch on the fact like there used to be Fae in this world.
Yeah.
The Fae no longer exist. That was
Mm-hmm.
like 500 years ago. And we have this magic now, but the magic that humans have now isn't quite the same as the magic that the Fae
Yeah.
wielded. And there's this group of people, which I did not mention in my summary, called
Uh-huh.
the Cesari, I think. I'm trying to look up their names here, but essentially they're trained to like access deeper levels of magic or Sirizen, sorry, Sirizen. And they basically have their eyes removed as a way to help them tap into deeper levels of magic and
I
go through the
remember that
special
part.
training. But even that deeper level of magic that they're tapping into is still
Yeah.
not super deep compared to
Mm-hmm.
what like the Fae used to be able to do. So I was curious about that. And it was very clear again. I was like, oh, this is something Carissa's going to come back to and flesh out in subsequent novels. So yeah, I liked that. I don't plan to read anymore. I'll probably just hop on and read summaries because I'm curious, but I'm not curious enough to spend more time reading the series. But I think if you're somebody who enjoys romantasy or honestly fantasy, because this book is not super smutty.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a romance, but there's a lot more going on outside of that that takes up
Mm-hmm.
a good chunk of page time compared to, like, I don't know, Quicksilver, for example. So I would say if you're a fantasy lover, I think you might like this book. It sounds like, according to Kelsey,
Mm-hmm.
it builds well. Like it's well worth your time to like get invested because it sounds like
Yes.
Carissa does the thing with the other books and explains everything and resolves it all, hopefully, in the third book. And I think perhaps if you read it and don't listen to it, you might like it more than I did too. I know everyone has different preferences for voices, so maybe her voice wouldn't bother
Yeah.
you that much, but
I didn't mind it
okay.
personally.
Kelsey didn't mind it. I
Uh,
felt it just created this huge disconnect between me because I just like the what she I in my head based on her behaviors, she would just have a huskier voice, like in my mind, which I know is like my own biases at play. Like only women who have husky voices can be badass, but I don't
Amanda.
know. Like I wanted there to be more grit in her voice, you know. And it was like, oh my god, she sounded like she just stepped out of Bridgerton or something, and I'm like, this is so weird. This is so jarring. Yeah. So
That's too
I
funny.
I feel like that's all I have to say
So there
about it.
wasn't anything that you like absolutely hated about the book?
No, I'm like looking through my notes again. I think no, there wasn't any like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. One of the things actually that I didn't mention that I did want to quickly mention that I did like and that I
Okay.
haven't seen any other romantasy novel do that you've had me read, which
Okay.
is so in this book, right? We're in this like world, the whole world, and
Yes.
Tizana is from a particular tribe in like the realm of Thrall, which has different tribes and different
Uh-huh.
peoples, and Ara is a different country as well. And she does not speak their language, understandably. Like she grew up somewhere else. She speaks
Yeah.
Threlian or whatever, and they speak Aran or whatever. And I liked that the book actually spent a good deal of time talking
Mm-hmm.
about her struggles with the language and the fact that, yeah, and a lot of these romantasy novels are just bopping around between all of these lands and realms and whatever, and everyone just knows how to
Knows
communicate with each
all the
other. Like,
languages.
it's so unrealistic. And it's one of those teeny tiny little details that just makes a novel feel more realistic.
Yeah.
And I personally liked it that she had to navigate, yeah, that language aspect and what it meant. And it also led to some humorous moments as well. But I really appreciated that. And I haven't seen another romantasy novel do that. I'm sure there
Like,
probably are some
yeah.
that do, but this one did. And it was my first time seeing that. So
There you go.
yeah, there you go. All right. I guess we can move
We
on
did the
to
thing.
we did the thing, and now we're going to let some other people do the thing because we're going to share some thoughts and feedback from some Goodreads reviewers. I've got 1-star reviews from Goodreads about this book, and
I'm
Kelsey's got
so curious.
5-star. Yeah, I tried to find ones that were like a paragraph or less. Some of these folks just go on these like 10 paragraph rants, which is fine, but not appropriate for our podcast because we don't have time. But I will say it was a minuscule amount of people who gave this book 1-star. It was less than 1%. I think it was like
Yeah.
1,800 people. So generally, this book is pretty well loved. And one of the
Yeah.
things that we didn't mention at the beginning is that she originally, like, this was a self-published book that then got traction and got interest and built from there, which I always have respect for actors, God, for authors who, yeah, just put themselves out there, write something and promote it themselves, and then it picks up steam. So, all right, I will start since I've got 1-star. My first review is from Shompa. Man, this first book's a total train wreck. Should have known the second I saw that janky, low budget cover. What was I even expecting? We're on the same page about that. But no, I fell for those shiny reviews. Thought I was getting into something epic. Turns out I was dead wrong. Utterly, catastrophically wrong. The heroine offers nothing. No wit, no brain, zero personality, and the most predictable, yawn-worthy characters all around her. And the plot, oh, the plot. It's like a badly rehashed version of stuff I've already read 100 times. Then there's the twisted, sadistic nonsense thrown in for shock value, borderline deranged stuff that made me seriously question why anyone would write this. And the romance, pure torture. No chemistry, no sense. It's like they forced it in just to check some box. But here I am, still flipping pages, trying to understand why people are hyping this up like it's the next big thing. Seriously, I feel like I'm losing brain cells trying to get through this mess. I disagree with pretty much all of that except for the cover.
Yeah. I was like trying to understand their perspective and I can't grasp onto
Yeah.
anything.
I'm not sure what sadistic nonsense they're talking about because I feel like it's all stuff that makes sense. Like when
I was
people,
wondering about if they were talking about Riche.
what in what way? Like in what way though?
That they're just like
The fact that
crazy.
she
I don't
like, okay, yeah, I don't know.
That's the only thing that came to mind.
Yeah. All
The
right. Well,
addition of this, I don't know.
yeah, maybe.
We can't know because they did not explain.
They did not explain.
Okay, my first one, I hope I read it well because it's a little confusing. This is from Ali L. Imagine. The nightmare from one dark window, but 1,000 times worse and not speaking in rhymes. A female lead who doesn't smirk or say things smugly or get herself into scrapes that could have been avoided if she'd use more than 2 brain cells. A male lead who grumps his way to lawn greatness with his prize winning, probably, flowers. Yearning so intense you should probably look away, you creep. The inherent unfairness of war with a backdrop of both magic and people practically immobilized by guilt. Traumatic backstories for all. And more. Is everyone constantly covered in blood and passing out? Yes, and I don't care. I love them.
That is accurate. There's a lot of blood loss in this book for sure.
And everybody has a traumatic backstory.
And everyone has a traumatic backstory. Literally everyone. I'm like trying to
but
think.
They
I'm like,
loved it.
But I'm glad they enjoyed it. Again, like this story definitely has, it's got some grit. It's got some things to say for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not a fluff piece.
Oh,
okay. Next up is Ellie Ellen. I was excited to read this because of the good reviews and I love the author, but I was so disappointed. I thought it was slow, the characters lacked depth, and were borderline moronic. One aspect that drove me nuts was how the main character just expects to walk in, have the support of a major organization, and get them to travel to free slaves all just because she says so. I don't know. Seemed naive and unrealistic. I equated it to me walking into the FBI's office and demanding an end to trafficking. I'd get thrown out on my ass. I had to force myself to finish this. I won't be continuing the series. Yeah, I do think I do actually agree with the bit about Tizana's naivete because she fully believes like she's just going to show up to Ara, Zareth is going to be there and she's going to be like, help me free the slaves. And all of a sudden this super powerful magical organization is going to be like, yeah, we hadn't thought of that before. Let's do like that part did for sure throw me. But I guess ultimately she was asking just that they train her so she could go back and do it, not necessarily expecting the entire orders to mobilize behind her. But yeah, she did seem a little, I mean, she is 21, so she's a baby, but
I'm trying to think about, her naivete. Is it understandable? Does it make sense?
Yeah, I think if you're someone who has experienced what she's experienced, you maybe would, because she builds up like the orders and Ara and Zareth very much in her head. It's like almost this fantasy, right? They're going to come in on their white horse and save the day. Like it's what got her through her years of enslavement. And that tracks. Like you need something to get by and to give yourself hope and to think like this is all going to be okay and it's all going to be worth it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what's going on.
Okay. My second review from Mariana M. Third reread. And it only gets better. This will forever be my favorite trilogy ever. God tier, quite literally, nothing like it. I get more and more emotional every time I read this. Tizana and Max own a piece of my soul. My heart aches for them in the best way. Two of my favorite characters ever. Max and Tyrese is so underrated, it pains me. This is what I want from fantasy romance. Why can't we make series like this anymore? And then I think this was like an original from her first review.
Okay.
Because there's like a line, but it doesn't really say. Tizana and Max. I love them together and separately so much. The world building, the character development, the plot twist, the intrigue, the slow burn. Obsessed.
I don't know if there are any plot twists per se, but yeah, there's a lot of other stuff going on.
Oh, maybe they're thinking about,
about Max turning into a giant serpent at the end.
Maybe. Or they're talking about the other books or something.
Maybe. But yeah, I guess I didn't talk about that. I think that's something I didn't like only because it fully came out of the blue. Like literally it's in the last 20 pages of the book that all of a sudden Max has this secret power to turn into a flaming flying snake. And I'm just like, wait, what? I would have appreciated at least a little bit of foreshadowing to make this feel legit. But anyhow,
that's the surprise of it.
But even like for me personally, I find twist so much more satisfying if there's a little bit of foreshadowing that even if I didn't catch it the first time, I can like, once it happens, I'm like, oh, all of those other things make sense. Now I get it. Like I find that way more satisfying versus an author just pulling something out of thin air. Cause I'm like, yeah, of course you can do that. You're the author. You can just write whatever. Anyhow. Okay. Number 3, this is from Mirth. I enjoyed Serpent in the Wings of Night, which is another Carissa Broadbent novel. So I thought I'd give this one a go. And frankly, I'm shocked that so many people love this book. Firstly, to me, the writing felt like it lacked a lot of the things I loved about Serpent and the Wings of Night. I disliked the main character because she lacked depth, and everything felt really rushed and out of place. But the thing that pushed me to rate the book 1 star is mostly because of the racist tropes. In a world where the amount of magic someone wields is equal to the amount of power they have, having magic bleach people's skin? Seriously? Also, the main character has vitiligo, and as the reader, you are supposed to get the idea that she's somehow broken or set back because of the parts of her skin that are dark. She is literally referred to as fragmented. I am honestly really disappointed. Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of folks who were talking about like race, like the
Yeah.
racist elements in this book, and even the fact that it was like white people who were enslaved in this book, which I think is not an issue because even in history, white people enslaved other white people. That's not like
Totally.
out of that makes sense.
Before they had
I
access to brown people.
yeah. And black people enslaved other
Yeah.
black people. Like people have been enslaving each other for forever. But I guess I didn't the whole bit about her saying, "Oh, like the more magic you have, the whiter your skin." The only reason why that didn't bother me is because you have a whole other order of magic wielders, the Solari, who like also wield impressive amounts of magic and it doesn't have any impact on their skin color
Impact,
and they're
yeah.
all different shades.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it didn't seem like, oh, the only people who can wield magic are like super white people.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
also, you get this feeling in the novel too that Asana is useful because you're
Yeah.
like, oh, there's actually something that we don't understand about this
Yeah.
fragmentation
Yeah.
that clearly other people know is useful. It wasn't, I don't think it was purely like, oh yeah, there's nothing good for her or
Yeah.
she's has nothing going for her because she's fragmented.
And the other argument you
Mm-hmm.
could make is that technically, and they say this in the book, like the Voltaire are like albinos and albinism, like there's a lot of, like in our world, not in the fantasy world, like a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes and just like hateful things that people will say about people who have albinism. And so you can make the argument like they're getting representation in this book as well, right? Again, you don't
Yeah.
see albino characters very often in
Mm-hmm.
literature, especially in fiction. So I think you could also like make that counter argument. So yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not fully. Thank you, Mirth, for your thoughts. I think we're on different pages with this one.
And that, what are they called? The Voltaire?
Yeah,
Oh my god. That just is this direct like correlation to the Voltari who
yeah.
are vampires, like
That's what
actually
made me think
vampires.
of. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh yeah. And like the fact they're like the Order of Night or whatever, and it's okay, like vampires and night and the yeah. Anyhow,
And then I will say too, The Serpent in the Night. I've read two of the books, I think, and that's about vampires. So it's like a completely
yeah,
different. It is a completely different read.
yeah. Apples and oranges.
Anywho, this is a slightly longer review. My last one is like one sentence. So
Okay.
this is from Carolyn K. To the people who recommended this book to me, may you forever have rainbows appear on your rainiest days.
What?
There are too many words to
Oh my
choose
God.
from to fully capture how much I love this book. It was so beautifully written. I love Max and Tizana, both as individuals and together. Interesting. Like this came up multiple times. I love how unafraid Tizana was about shedding light on the slaves, showcasing what had happened to her to start a conversation. She had a purpose and a plan, and she wasn't going to give up so easily. She was standing on business. Max, on the other hand, really shocked me. He has been through the trenches and he still manages to have this caring soul. I truly adore this man. I skipped the other quote
Okay.
because
Okay.
it doesn't say who
Said
it
it.
doesn't make any sense. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Tizana has a lot of perseverance. Like literally nothing will stop her. And it's
Mm-hmm.
very impressive. And it also helps Max feel motivated to do more things.
Yes.
Okay. My last 1 star review is from Riddhi Singh. Only picked it up because Audible has a free audiobook, and now I know why. It started off well, in my opinion, but I started struggling with it very soon into the story. I suppose it is decent in parts, but I was so supremely annoyed by the time this book ended that I cannot find it within myself to form a more balanced opinion. It has a very vague magic system. I still do not understand it and do not care either. Superficial world building, some sort of training exam, too many butterflies, too much seductive dancing to numbers, a very sketchy plot, and one-dimensional characters making all sorts of questionable decisions. So much did not add up. It is a very introductory, beginner-level fantasy. Carissa Broadbent is a decent writer, but this was very forgettable. Also, to add, the audiobook is not great either. All female characters sound like children. I actually agree with that part. But there are a lot of butterflies in this book. She a lot of butterflies. That's like her.
What do butterflies represent?
Transformation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, my last review is from Grace Harper. Gloriously magnificent. Not a single goddamn note.
Okay. We
And
definitely
then
know
it's
how
the
she
pray
feels.
hands and crying face.
Emoji. Okay. Clearly loves this book. Yeah,
Yes.
listeners, those are our thoughts. Those are a bunch of other people's thoughts. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So you can,
Yes.
again, comment on this episode on Spotify. You can hop on our socials and let us know what you think. As always, we will have voting on Thursdays on both Instagram and TikTok. So if you want to share your thoughts on whether or not this book was a lit it or quit it for you, you should do that. And Kelsey, can you remind them what our socials are?
Mm-hmm. You can always find us on Instagram at litvibesonly_podcast and on TikTok and YouTube at Lit Vibes Only Podcast. And of course, if you just look up Lit Vibes Only Podcast, those things will come up.
Yes.
And then of course we're on Fable now as well,
Mm-hmm.
where you get to help us decide what books we're reading next. And this was the first one of those that our members decided we were going to read. So, or that
Yay.
Amanda was going to read. So here we are.
Here we are.
And what is the last thing? Is that it?
Rating and reviewing, most important.
Yes, always go take a few seconds to rate our podcast. It lets us be seen by so many more people when we have more reviews or ratings and reviews. And then if you have a couple seconds or extra seconds, you can leave a comment for us on Spotify or review on Apple. We appreciate it.
Yes, please. We appreciate it so much. And yeah, just send more folks our way so we can grow our community and spread some Lit Vibes love with other readers out there. So thank you guys again for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye.